Welcome back, crafty friends. I have a layout as part of the Scraptember series that is done every September by the Scrappy Sisters and I believe Laura Alberts, but she is taking um, this round off, I believe. And I actually created, I think this is a 9 by 11 ish layout, and I pretty much used all scraps on this. There you can see that I am measuring the page that will be on the other side of the layout. And I measure it because, like I said, I don't exactly follow, exactly the 9 by 11. I want it to fit exactly snug within the page protector. So when I create the first one, I measure the page protector, cut my paper, and then when I create the layout that's going to go on the back, then I just use the layout to measure to make sure it matches exactly. So, and since I put two scraps together that were not exactly uh, wide enough to go all the way across, that I did use some of my washi tape to hold the back together for my foundation of the background page. And so, let's see, even that green paper was a scrap, and I have three little 2 by 3 pictures of my grandson Cody and my daughter Hope, who is feeding him some baby food. And there isn't really anything monumental about the pictures except that it was really cute when it was happening. So, here is where today's prompt comes in. Today's prompt is circles. So I used circles in a couple different places. That I had some old circle rub-ons from, oh, who were they from? Like Daisy something? Let's see if I can find them. But they have been in my stash forever. And then the other area where I use circles were from a previous layout that I made for 30 Days of Sketches, where I had a circle die cut, and there were multiple different sizes, and these were the negative circles that came out of the die cut that I used. So let's see. Those circle rub-ons that I had, I think they were from Lux, is what the brand says. Lux Designs, and the packaging says it was from 2007. So they have been in my stash for quite some time. I probably bought them to create a layout for Cody's mother. So, yeah, it was time to get them used up, and amazingly, they were still good enough to use. That there was, I think, one area that may not have rubbed off good enough, but since they kind of looked distressed, it was fine that I just used some of the embellishments to cover up the areas that may not have gone down as smoothly as I wanted them to. So, probably the newest item in my stash were these puffy titles that I had from Pink Fresh, and it said it's all good. And so I thought that kind of worked good with the baby food and eating. And so for this layout, I dug through my stash and tried to find some of my food stickers that I struggled to use. Um, for some reason, I just don't use food stuff. And so those two things are supposed to represent baby food jars. And so I used a dark green for like peas or green beans. And then the other one could have been anything from squash, applesauce, things of that nature. And so I pulled out these tiny letters from Cocoa Vanilla. And so I'm going to make labels for my baby food jars. And really all it was a square, and I used a corner rounder to make the corners rounded, and then the top is just some silver metallic paper that I had, and to look like the jar lids, even though most of the baby food is a plastic container anymore, that I still wanted to make it look more like the old-fashioned Gerber baby food jars. So they do still have some of those. So some of the meats actually come in the glass jars with uh, the metal lids. So I thought it was still relevant to today, that people would know what it was. And so some of these letters don't actually stick very good. So I do tend to use the trick of putting the glue on the back of my hand and then just dipping a small section of the letter in it, so at least a portion of it will stick securely to the paper. So the green jar, I'm going to label that as peas. And then since I had a lot of pumpkins and squash looking items, I did decide to make the yellow jar pumpkins, since he did eat pumpkin throughout his baby food phase. But I was missing several, or I think I didn't have enough peas to spell out the full word, so I made it look like the jar was turned enough that you could just see what the end of the label was saying. So it looks like pumpkin. So that's the end, PKIN. And you have to use your imagination that the rest of the label has pump on it. But by using the pumpkin puffy sticker there, that hopefully that brings home the message of what I was trying to get across. So then, as far as all the other food-ish items that I had, that I dug through all of my color drawers. So those blue pieces were stickers of blueberries. So that reminded me of the, like the, what's it called? The blueberry buckle or blueberry cobbler baby food that he liked. And then I found a stamp that had like a peach on it, and he definitely had peaches. He definitely had more pumpkin and squash. I believe there's an apple there from like a fall collection to represent like the applesauce. I had this felt pumpkin piece, so I did go ahead and add that as well for some texture. There's a couple other things that are just there for, I think I had some berries of some kind that I didn't know when or if I would ever use, so I did go ahead and include some of those on there as well. And then some, like that little jar, it actually says honey, and yes, I know you're not supposed to give babies honey, but I actually put a brad over the top where it says honey, so I thought the pot looked like a little jar of baby food. And oh, actually, I put a flower on it, so I just felt that it could just represent a generic jar of baby food. So this was just kind of a fun little layout to put together to use up some food related items and some other miscellaneous things, and also document just a fun experience of having a baby in the house. So there, I'm adding that. And then I did find some brads from a couple different collections that, well, they're brads, the adhesive brads. And mainly you couldn't really tell what the image was on there, and so I went for more the color of like the peas and green beans, and just added some label stickers that said some comments like this happened, and I'm not sure what that green banner said, but it does say something that was kind of relative. And I end up finishing off this layout using some purple enamel dots that kind of goes with the circles that I used as my border between the orange and the white wood grain paper. So more circles. So I think I met the criteria of the circle prompt today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those below. I do also post my pictures of my layouts on Pinterest and Instagram. So if you want a close-up look of my layout, you can see those here, and you can also find them over there as well. So thanks for stopping by and watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.